Hello everybody and welcome to today's lesson. Today we'll be going through a P6 science paper from 2020 SA1 from the School of Nan Hua. We're going to go into the first section A, which is 28 MCQs. So let's go into question 1. Okay, question 1. The flowchart below shows the characteristics of 4 organisms, living things. Okay, does it make food? Yes and no. And breaks down into A and B. Okay, so which of the questions correctly match A and B? Let us slowly eliminate, because this kind of question, there's a lot of information going around. Part A. Does it have flowers? Okay, maybe, because rose plant they have flowers and fern they do not have flowers. Okay, part B. Does it have gills? Crocodile, yes, which means that this is definitely wrong. Okay, does it produce fruits? Maybe. Okay, for rose plant, and fern does not. And for part B, does it live in water? Crocodile, yes. Fish, no. Okay, so this is also wrong. Part 3, does it reproduce by seeds? Okay, rose plant, yes. Fern, no. Does it have lungs? Crocodile, yes. And fish, no. Okay, so this is likely to be the correct one. Does it reproduce by spores? Rose plant, yes, so this is a wrong. Does it have scales? Fish, no, is a wrong. Okay, so the answer for this question number 1 is option 3. Question 2. The graph below shows the number of days for various stages of life cycles of insect A. So the graph shows the number of days and versus the stages of a life cycle. We have the egg that spans 3 days. We have the larva that spans 5 days. Pupa will span 6 days, and the adult will span 8 days. Okay, at which stage will the young of this insect be? 6 days after the adult lays its eggs. Okay, so 6 days after will be probably 3 and another 3 days in the larva stage. So the answer should be the larva stage. Okay, number 2. Question 3. The table below shows 3 cells, A, B, and C, and the cell parts represent in each cell. Okay, so cell wall will have all the parts. Cell B does not have the cell wall and the chloroplast. Cell C does not have the chloroplast. Okay, which of the following represents the cheek cell and the root hair cell? Cheek cell will not have cell wall. So since cell A have cell wall, A is definitely out. C is also definitely out, because C also have the cell wall. Okay, which means that we're gonna eliminate 1 and 4. Okay, so the decider will be between these two. Root hair cell will have a cell wall. Yep. Cell membrane, yes. Chloroplast, no. Okay, so probably it is C, and the answer should be number 2. Question 4, the diagram below. Study the diagram below. At water, there is a beaker. Okay, there's a bag that contains 2 substances. So 1 hour later, you can see that one of the substance is outside of the bag. Okay, and the other substance is still inside the bag. Okay, based on the experiment, which of the following statements is most likely to be True. The bag acts as a cell wall, which gives the bag a regular shape. Maybe not. The bag acts as a cell wall, allowing some substances to pass through. No, cell wall allows all substances to pass through. The bag acts as a cell membrane, allowing all substances to pass through. This is also not true because one of the substances did not pass through. The bag acts as a cell membrane, allowing some substances to pass through. Okay, so for question number 4, the answer should be number 4. Question 5. The diagram below shows a section through a cut leaf of a plant. So the diagram shows the cross section of the plant with the upper leaf surface, okay, layer Y and layer Z, and the lower leaf surface. W is a cell part found in the cell leaves. I think by now you should realize W is the chloroplast. Okay, the number of W is not the same in layer Y and layer Z of the leaf. Based on the diagram above, which of the following statements is or are true on the distribution of W on the leaf? Okay, layer Y traps more light than layer Z, so probably true because layer Y is the upper surface, so upper surface is exposed to more sunlight. Layer Y makes less food than layer Z, probably not because layer Y is exposed to more sunlight. Layer Y is darker green in color than layer Z, probably true because when there's more chloroplast, there will be more chlorophyll and that will make the leaf appear darker in green. Okay, so the answer should be NC, which is number 2. Question 6. Farmers always remove unwanted weeds from the vegetables that they grow. So unwanted weeds has reached its maximum height. So this is the unwanted weed. Okay. The reason why the farmers always remove the unwanted weeds is because the weeds will compete with the vegetables for water, yes. Space, yes. Okay, sunlight, no, because in this case, the weed at its maximum height does not block the maize plant. Nutrients, yes. Okay, so the answer should be A, B, and D, number 3. Okay, be careful about C because a lot of students will get tricked and they will choose C. Question 7. Daniel wanted to find out if the different lengths of the wing of 3 fruits X, Y, and Z taken from the same plant will affect their dispersal by wind. He dropped the 3 fruits from the same height and recorded the time taken, the time each fruit took to reach the ground. Table below shows his results. Okay, the fruits X, Y, Z. Length of the wing is 6, 4, and 2. Time taken is 3.2, 3.0, and 2.7. He concluded that fruit X could be carried away further by wind. How could Daniel improve his experiment? Okay, use 3 fruits of different mass. Different mass is wrong because he wanted to find out if the different lengths of the wings. Okay, and so this would be the change variable. And this is the only variable that you should change. Okay, for part 2, drop the 3 fruits at different heights, also probably not. In order for it to be a fair test, you must drop it from the same height. Use a fan and a different wind speed to blow the 3 fruits separately, also probably not. Okay, repeat the experiment 2 more times and calculate the average time taken for each fruit to reach the ground. Yes. Okay, so the answer should be number 4. Question 8. The diagrams below show the human and plant reproductive system. So there is this is a human reproductive system, and the one on the right is the plant reproductive system, which is the flower. So there is a cut over here, And there's a cut over here. Which of the following statements are correct after the cut? Okay, in both the human and plant reproductive systems, the ovaries are not damaged. Yes, because the ovaries are located here, here, and here. They are not damaged. Fertilization can still occur. Probably not. The female parts are cut. Okay, so this is the female reproductive part by itself, and for the flower, since the cut is on the style, on the stigma, right, on the style, then the female part is cut. Okay, so the answer should be number 3 and C. Okay, for question 3, which of the following correctly shows how food is transported in a plant? Okay, so food is produced in a leaf. Okay, and then after that it will be transported to the stem. Okay, I don't think is it possible for the leaves to transport the food produced directly to the fruit? Probably not. Okay, and number 1 is obviously wrong because food does not transport from the root to the fruit. Yep, so I think in this question the obvious answer is number 4. The leaves is where the food is produced. It will be transported through the stem to the roots and the fruit. Question 10. The diagram below shows the human digestive system. So which of the following statements are correct? Organ C absorbs water and minerals. Okay, organ C is pointing to the large intestine. Okay, organ D looks like it's pointing to the small intestine. B is the stomach. Okay, and A is the mouth. Okay, organ C absorbs water and minerals. Yep, that's what the large intestine do. Digestive juices are released at B, C, and D only. Okay, not at C. Food is broken down into simpler substances at A, B, and D. So A, B, and D. A is the mouth. Yep, correct. Okay, for D, absorption of digested food into the bloodstream occurs at D, the small intestine. Okay, so the answer is probably A, C, and D, which is number 4. Question 11. When a freshly plucked leaf is put inside a beaker of warm water, bubbles appeared on the surfaces of the leaf. Okay, which of the following statements about the bubbles is correct? The bubbles contain air, maybe. Okay, the bubbles contain chlorophyll, probably not. Bubbles contain a dissolved mineral salts, probably not. And the bubbles are formed when surrounding air dissolves in water, also probably not. Okay, so this question 11, the answer is number 1. Okay, the air comes from the leaf itself. Question 12. An experiment is carried out to find out more about the plant transport system. An outer ring around the stem of a healthy plant is removed. After a few days, it was observed that the plant remained healthy. Okay, which of the following statements is true about the outer ring that is removed? Okay, all the food carrying tubes are removed. Okay, but after a few days, it was observed that the plant remained healthy. So If so, probably not all. All the water carrying tubes are removed. Definitely not, because if the water carrying tubes are removed, the plant will definitely die. Only some of the food carrying tubes are removed. Okay, maybe. Only some of the food carrying tubes and all of the water carrying tubes are removed. Definitely not. So the answer should be number 3. Question 13. The diagrams below show the respiratory system of the human and the fish. Okay, organ S refers to the lungs and organ T refers to the gills. Which of the following statements is correct about organ S and T? S and T remove oxygen from the body. Remove oxygen from the body? No. S and T are made up of blood vessels only. Probably not also. S and T allow gaseous exchange to take place. Yes. S takes in oxygen from the air and from the water. No. Okay, S cannot take in oxygen from the water. So the answer is number 3. Question 14. The chart below shows how substance C and gas A are transported in the human body. So, okay, substance C and gas A. Which of the following correctly matches gas A, substance C, and the body system X and Y? Okay, so let's go through it one by one. System X, maybe let's take a look at System X first, okay? Food goes in, so probably it's the digestive system. I don't think it's the respiratory system because there is a respiratory system over here. Okay, circulatory, let's say that I'm not sure, so I'll just leave it alone. Next, we look at System Y. So the digestive system will transport the food to Y, and we can see that System Y is responsible for distributing a lot of substances across the whole body. So probably System Y is the circulatory, not respiratory for sure because it's over there, and not digestive because digestive we have already said that it's System X. So now probably number 1 is the correct answer, but we just confirm that gas A, okay, fresh air comes in, probably it is oxygen. Substance C is probably digested food, okay, because it comes from the digestive system. So the answer should be number 1. A pot of plant in a sealed clear glass box was left in the garden for 1 day. The different amount of gases in the sealed glass box was recorded and plotted in the graphs below. So amount of gas X, you can see that it increases and it peaks at 12 PM. The amount of gas Y, you can see that it decreases and it's lowest at 12 PM. Based on the information above, which of the following statements are correct? Gas X is oxygen. Okay, probably, because by now you should have realized that if the pot of plant is sealed in a clear glass box, then it is probably going through photosynthesis, okay? When it's going through photosynthesis, the amount of oxygen will increase and the amount of carbon dioxide will decrease because it's taking in carbon dioxide. So B is wrong, gas X is not carbon dioxide. C, gas Y is oxygen is wrong, gas Y is probably carbon dioxide. So it should be A and D, number 2. Question 16. An experiment is set up to find out if carbon dioxide is needed for photosynthesis. Okay, so it is to find out if carbon dioxide is needed for photosynthesis. We have a solution here that removes carbon dioxide. So which two parts of the plant should be taken to test for starch to reach a conclusion? E and G, we probably should not be testing the stem. F and H, so F and H is the leaves, and F is inside the container and H is outside the container, so probably this is correct. E and F, so we should not be testing what's like only inside the beaker or the bottle. H and G are both outside, so it is wrong. The answer is number 2. Question 17. A ball is released from point A. It moved from point A and stopped at point E. Okay, moved from point A, stopped at point E. Which of the following statements about the energy of the ball are correct? At point E, the ball has no kinetic energy. At point E, okay, since the question already said that it stopped at E, so this statement is correct. At point C, the ball has more kinetic energy than B. C and B, yes, okay, because as the ball rolls down, it will become faster and so it will have more kinetic energy. At point A, the ball has more kinetic energy than at point D. Okay, probably not, because when the ball is just released at point A, it is the slowest. Okay, at point D, the ball has more gravitational potential energy than at point C. So comparing D and C, D is higher, so it definitely has more gravitational potential energy. So it should be W, X, and Z. Okay, number 4. Question 8. The diagram below shows a bow and an arrow. So which of the following correctly shows the energy conversion when the string is pulled and then released? Okay, so when the string is pulled and then released, is it chemical potential energy? Maybe from the person. To kinetic energy? Maybe, because you need movement to pull the string. To gravitational potential energy? This is probably wrong. Is it elastic potential energy? Maybe, when the string is stretched. To chemical potential energy? Definitely not. A kinetic energy? Maybe the movement provided by the person will be converted into chemical potential energy. Probably also not. Okay, the kinetic energy provided by the person will be converted into the elastic potential energy of the stretched string. Okay, and then when it is released, it will be converted into kinetic energy of the arrow. So the answer should be number 4. Okay, question 9. A metal ball hangs on a string which is fixed at point P. Okay, it is released from position X and it swings to position Y and then Z, and then after that it will go back. Okay, it swings to and fro several times before stopping at Y. Okay, which of the following statements are correct? A. The kinetic energy of the ball decreases from X to Y. X to Y doesn't decrease, it increases, because when it swings downwards, it will become faster. B. The potential energy of the ball increases from Y to Z. Yeah, from Y to Z. Okay, just comparing the position. Z is higher, so this is correct. For C, the metal ball has the most kinetic energy when it is at position Y for the first time. Yeah, that is probably correct also. because remember when it swings from X to Y, it will have the most amount of kinetic energy. Okay, some of the metal ball's energy has been converted to heat and sound energy during its path. Yep, this is correct because as it is traveling, it will rub against the air and friction will produce heat and sound. Okay, so the answer should be B, C, and D. Okay, number 4. Question 20. A box is being pushed by force X to move along the floor as shown in the diagram below. Okay, so there's also gravitational force, there's also pushing force Y, and there is another force Z. Okay, the box is moving in this direction to the right. Which of the following statements describe the possible effects of the forces on the box? Okay, gravitational force can stop the moving box. Gravitational force, yep. Okay, just imagine a situation where there's no gravitational force, and if you apply a pushing force, then the object will probably keep moving without any interference of other forces. Pushing force X caused the stationary box to move. Okay. Pushing force Y may change the direction of the moving box. Yes, that is provided if pushing force Y is greater than X. Force Z opposes the motion and increases. Okay, it doesn't increase. Remember, if it opposes the motion, it should decrease the speed. Okay, so it is A, B, and C, but there is no option A, B, and C. So let's go through the options again. Okay, so by elimination, I know that D is definitely wrong. Okay, so those answer with D is out. So for the answer key, it chose only B and C. So we're gonna go along with number 2, which is the correct answer. Question 21. An experiment was carried out with 3 objects A, B, and C of different masses. Okay, when different combinations of objects were hung on the spring, the length of the stretched spring was measured and recorded. The original length of the spring was 10 cm. The table below shows the length of the spring after different objects were hung on it. So for object A, and we can see that the extension okay, it is 20 cm for this, for A, and then for B, we can see that it is 30 cm, and for C, it will be 85 minus 60, okay, which is 25 cm for C. Okay, if the spring was not overstretched throughout the experiment, which of the following statements is correct? Object A has the smallest mass. Yep, probably, because the extension is the least. So it should be the smallest mass. Object A has a greater mass than object C. Object A has a greater mass than object C. Probably nope, because object C has greater extension. The extension of the spring when only object B is hung on it is 30 cm. Okay. The length of the spring is 50 cm when only object C is hung on it. This is wrong because when only object C is hung on it, it will be 35 cm. Okay, if there are 2 correct options, 1 and 3, Let me check through the question again. The experiment was carried out 3 objects A, B, C. When different combinations were hung, the length of the stretch spring was measured and recorded. The original length of the spring is 10 cm. Object A has the smallest mass. Yep. Object A has the mass than C. Nope. Extension of the spring when only object hung on it was 30 cm. Okay, I couldn't find anything from the question that can help me differentiate between 1 and 3. Sometimes there might be some problem with the question, so the only thing that I can think of is if the question is asking us like what can we observe from the above experiment, then maybe option 1 is the better answer. Okay, so for this question I'm just going to leave it as 1 or 3. Question 22. 2 identical blocks A and B are placed at different positions on the ramp. Block A and B are then put up a distance of 10 cm on the ramp. Okay, which of the following statements are correct? For P, block A needs more force to be pulled up than block B. Maybe not. For Q, block A and B have the same amount of frictional force acting on them. Yep, because they are on the same surface and they are identical blocks. For R, block A and B have the same amount of gravitational force acting on them. Yep, gravitational force is considered equal for all objects. So the answer should be Q and R, number 3. Question 23, study the classification table below. So materials are classified into electrical conductors and electrical insulators. Okay, electrical conductors are separated into non-metal and metal. Electrical insulators are separated into flexible and non-flexible. In which group A, B, C, or D can iron, plastic, glass, and gold be placed? So iron, okay, it's definitely a metal, so we're gonna cross out AA. Okay, plastic. Plastic is C, flexible. It can be flexible and it can be non-flexible. So definitely not an electrical conductor. Let's go through the others first. Okay, glass is definitely not an electrical conductor. It's not flexible. Gold is definitely electrical conductor, not a non-metal. Okay, and so option 4 is the answer. Question 24. Xiong wanted to find out the strength of the magnetic force of 2 magnets. He attached a piece of paper on his refrigerator door with magnet X. He then placed another piece of paper on the first piece of paper and attached both to the refrigerator door using the same magnet. Xiong repeated the experiment with more pieces of paper until the papers could no longer be attached to the refrigerator door. Okay, so the magnet, sheets of paper, and the fridge door. Xiong repeated the experiment with magnet Y. The table below shows the results of his experiment. Okay, so as the number of papers increase for magnet X, okay, this is the point where the magnet X could no longer hold on to the pieces of paper, and this is the point where magnet Y could not hold on to the pieces of paper. Which of the following can be concluded based on the results of Xiong's experiment? Okay, magnetic force can act at a distance. Yes, because there is a bit of a distance between the magnet and the door because of the pieces of paper. The magnet Y is a stronger magnet than X. Yes, because magnet Y can hold on to more pieces of paper. Gravitational force acting on the 5 papers is stronger than the magnetic force of Y when 5 papers are used in the experiment. So if you look at the 5 pieces of paper, magnet Y can still hold on to them. Okay, which means that this sentence is wrong. Okay, so the answer should be A and B, which is number 2. Question 25. On a dark night, Amma walked from A to D, so from here to here, under a lit street lamp. Okay. So which of the following graphs shows how the length of Ahmad's shadow changes from A to D under the street light? Okay, so as he moves from A to B, the shadow should the length of the shadow should decrease. Okay, and as it walks from B to C, the length of his shadow should increase. So the only graph that shows a decrease and increase is number 3. Question 26. Johnny set up an electrical circuit as shown below. Bulbs B1, 2, and 3 and switches S1, S2, and S3 are connected in the circuit. All the bulbs and batteries are working properly. So which of the following is incorrect? Okay, for number 1, S1, S2 is closed, and S3 is open. So this is open, this is closed. Okay, if that's the case, B1 and 2 should be light up. Okay, so number 1 is correct, but remember they're asking for the one that's incorrect. Option 2, switch 1 is open, switch 2 is open, and switch 3 is closed. So this is the only one that is closed. Okay, since there is an open circuit over here, then none of the light bulb will light up. Option 3, switch 1 is closed, switch 2 is open, and switch 3 is closed. So switch 2 is open. This is closed. Okay, so only 1 and 2 will light up. Okay, so this is wrong. Option 4, when switch 1 is open, switch 2 and 3 is closed. Remember, when switch 1 is open, then all will not light up. Okay, so option 3 is the answer. Question 27. The table below shows the states of 4 substances P, Q, R, and S at different temperatures. Okay, so for substance P, at 10 degrees Celsius is solid, 50 is liquid, and 80 is gas. Okay, for substance Q, at 10, 50, and 80 it is all liquid. For substance R, at 10 it is liquid, for 50 and 80 it is a gas, and for substance S, it is a solid at 10 and 50, and liquid at 80 degrees Celsius. Okay, which of the following statements correctly describe substance P, Q, R, and S? A. The boiling point of substance P is 82. Okay, so this kind of question is always very confusing. So since it is all asking about boiling point and melting point, okay, so let me write down what is the boiling point first for all the substances. Okay, so boiling point is the temperature at which a substance changes from liquid to gas, right? So for P, we can see that it changes from liquid to gas over here. So the boiling point can be anywhere from 50 to 80. For substance Q, it is all liquid until 80 degrees Celsius. So it is higher than 80. Substance R, we can see that liquid to gas is over here, so it will be between 10 to 50. Okay, for substance S is also liquid at 80, so it is also higher. Okay, higher than 80. Okay, I'm gonna write the melting point over here. Melting point, remember, is the temperature at which a substance changes from solid to liquid. I can use a red color, solid to liquid. So melting point for substance P is 10 to 50. Okay, for Q, because we don't know when it's gonna become a solid, so it will be lower than, I'm gonna write a low 10. Okay, for R is also lower than 10. And for S, we can see that the melting point is from 50 to 80. Okay, so now we can start to go through the statement. For A, the boiling point of substance P is 82. No. Okay, definitely not, because it's anywhere between 50 to 80. Melting point of substance Q is 15. Also wrong, because it's lower than 15. Substance R has the lowest boiling point. Substance R, yes, because the boiling point of substance R is 10 to 50. Substance S has the highest melting point. Substance S, yep, 50 to 80. Okay, so the answer should be number 2, C and D. Question 28. The diagram below shows a kettle of boiling water on a hot stove. Okay, so when you're boiling water, okay, a mist will be produced when it is boiling. Which of the following are correct? There is less water vapor in the air as the water is boiling. No. There should be more water vapor, okay, because the water is changing from liquid to gas. The water boiled and changed into steam, and steam has kinetic energy. Yes, okay, steam has a lot of kinetic energy. The mist that is seen above the spout of the kettle is in liquid state. Yep. Okay, remember, if you can see it, it's in the liquid state. If you can't see it, it's in the gas state. D, the temperature of the boiling water increases when the water is heated longer. No, okay, because the temperature of the boiling water will remain at 100 degrees Celsius. Okay, option 3 is the correct answer. Moving on to section B, the written section. Questions 29 to question 40. Move on to question 29. Okay, flowers play an important role in the reproduction of flowering plants. The diagram below shows 2 different types of full-bloomed flowers with both the male and female reproductive parts still intact. Okay, so these are the 2 flowers, X and Y. Okay, on flower X, circle and label the part of the flower where the pollen grain should land for pollination to take place. So they are talking about the stigma. This is where the stigma is, okay, the feathery-like stigma. Okay, name the method of pollination for flower X and Y. So for flower X, it should be wind pollinated. Okay, because if you look at the structure of flower X, remember wind pollinated flowers, they always have the anther hanging out, exposed to wind, and they also have this feathery like stigma to increase the chances of pollen grain landing on it. And they'll have smaller petals so that they will not block wind. Okay, for flower Y, it should be animal pollinated, okay, or pollinated by insect. Okay, so usually flowers that are pollinated by animals, they will have large petals and large and colorful petals. They might have a sweet smelling nectar. Okay, the anther and the stigma is usually enclosed inside the flower, so that the animal will have to move into the like flower itself. Part C, name one characteristics of flower X that suggests that it is pollinated by the method named in part B. Okay, so just now I already mentioned a few, right? So I'm gonna write one of it, anther of flower X is hanging outside of the flower. Okay, exposed to wind. Question 30. Ali collected 4 beakers of water from 4 different ponds, E, F, G, and H. Use the setup below to determine the amount of light. Okay, he wants to determine the amount of light passing through each beaker of pond water. Okay, the graph below shows the amount of light recorded, and H has got the most, E followed by E, G, and F has got the least. Okay, what apparatus should be used to measure the readings? So you probably need a light sensor. Okay, and maybe a data logger also. Okay, for part B, in the boxes below, arrange the different pond water E, F, G, and H in decreasing order based on the amount of light passing through the pond water. Okay, most light will be H, followed by E, G, and then F will experience the least amount of light. Okay, part C, which pond would be the most suitable for totally submerged plants to thrive in? So it should be on H. Okay, explain your answer. So whenever a question provides you with data or a graph, we always use it as the evidence to support your explanation. So based on the graph, okay, water from pond H allows the most amount of light to pass through. Okay, after that concluded with hence or therefore. Okay, more light. And reach the totally submerged plants. And they will be able to thrive well. Question 31. The table below shows how indicator solution X changes color when the concentration of carbon dioxide in it changes. So when the concentration of the carbon dioxide increases, it will change from red to yellow. Okay, when the concentration decreases, it will change from red to purple. Okay, on a sunny day, Samantha set up the experiment below and put 3 test tubes on a windowsill. After 2 hours, she observed the color of the indicator solution X and recorded the results in a table. Okay, so for part A, we need to complete the table. Color of indicator solution X in test tube Q. Okay, we can see that there's a pond weed inside it, so if it is exposed to light, you'll probably go through photosynthesis. It will take in carbon dioxide, and the amount of carbon dioxide will decrease, right? So it should turn into purple. Okay, for test tube R, there's only the snail. Okay, so which means that they'll be taking in dissolved oxygen and they'll be giving out carbon dioxide. So the amount of carbon dioxide should increase, and so the color should turn into yellow. Okay, for part B, explain your answer in A for test tube Q. Okay, so for test tube Q, just now I've already roughly explained. So now I can say that the pond weed, is it pond weed? Okay, the pond weed in test tube Q have all the conditions to carry out photosynthesis. Okay, you can use therefore, or hence, the amount of carbon dioxide will decrease. And solution X will turn purple. Okay, for part C, explain why the indicator solution X remain red in test tube S. So for test tube S, you can see that there is a pond weed and also the snails, so they will actually be providing each other with oxygen and carbon dioxide. So the amount of carbon dioxide will remain relatively the same. So if it doesn't increase or decrease, then it will remain as red in color. Okay, so I'm going to explain this by starting with when the pond weeds carry out photosynthesis. They take in carbon dioxide and give out oxygen. Okay, I'm gonna try and use a short answer because this will be a bit too long. Okay, so when on wheat carry out photosynthesis, they take in carbon dioxide and okay, when the snails carry out respiration, they give out carbon dioxide. Okay, hence the amount of carbon dioxide will remain the same. Okay. And solution X will remain red. Okay, question 32. The diagram on below shows the movement of substances, movement of substance X and water in the plant transport system. Okay, so the roots will carry the water to the stem and carry water to the leaves, and the leaves will carry substance X to the stem and to the roots. Diagram 2 shows the movement of blood in the human circulatory system, okay, the lungs, the heart, and other parts of the body. Okay, identify a substance X carried in the plant transport system. It is food or sugar. Okay, that is produced by the leaves. Okay, what happens to the water after it reaches the leaves? Okay, water that reaches the leaves will be used during photosynthesis. Okay, to make food. Okay, for part C, state the difference in terms of the amount of substances present between the blood in X and between the blood in A and the blood in B. So A and B over here. Okay, so there's a lot of substances that we can talk about. I'm gonna talk about the amount of oxygen. Okay, the amount of oxygen in A is more than the amount of oxygen in B. Okay, so you can also talk about digested food. You can also talk about carbon dioxide. Okay, question 33. James has 4 types of ring magnets W, X, Y, and Z. Okay, he passes the different rings through 3 smooth plastic rods as shown in the diagram below, so only one type of metal ring is not a magnet. Okay, so based on the observations as shown above, which of the metal rings are definitely magnets? And give a reason for your answer. So we can see that W, X, and Z is definitely magnets. Okay, and so the reason is from the observation. Okay, W repels X and W repels Z. So only magnets. They repel each other. Okay, for part B, using any of the 2 types of metal rings listed above, draw a setup that James would not observe in the box below. Label the 2 metal rings clearly. Okay, so we know that Y is definitely not magnetic material, and I don't see any interaction between W and Y, so I can also draw W and Y. Okay, since I know that Y is definitely not a magnetic material, so they will definitely not repel each other. Okay, so you can also draw other interactions, like we also don't see the interaction between X and Z. Okay, X and Z are both magnets, so you can actually draw something like this. Okay, repelling each other. Okay, it can be X and Z. Okay, could be right, yeah, okay. Question 34. The diagram below shows 2 students standing on a platform ready to dive into the pond. So student X and student Y. Okay, which student X or Y has more gravitational potential energy? So it is obviously student X. Give 2 reasons for your answer. So I'm gonna write down student X first. Okay, one of the reason is because student X is higher. Than Y. Okay, so the higher object will definitely have more gravitational potential energy. And the other reason is student X is heavier, okay, than student Y. Okay, because student X is 50 kg and student Y is 40 kg. For part B, student X dives from the platform into the water. Explain in terms of energy why student X kinetic energy decreases as he enters the water. Okay, so for this question, as a student X enters the water, his kinetic energy will be converted into heat and sound. Okay, so you can continue to say that hence his kinetic energy will decrease. Okay, part C, another swimmer in the diagram below dived into the pool from a diving board. What is the source of energy for the swimmer? Okay, the source of energy is the stored food. In the swimmer. Question 35, the picture shows a temporary road traffic information board. So the board is made up of solar cells, there's LED light, there's also batteries inside. Okay, so the batteries power the LED light used in the information board. The solar cells keep the batteries charged. So for part A, we need to state the energy change to show how the information board makes use of solar energy to provide useful information to road users. Okay. So these 2 points over here are very important because the source of energy for this information board will be light energy. So the light energy will be converted into electrical energy. Okay, by the solar cells. And then the electrical energy will go into the batteries and be converted into chemical potential energy. Okay, so remember then the batteries are used to power up the LED lights, right? So the chemical potential energy in the batteries, it will flow out, will be converted into electrical energy. Okay, and this electrical energy will be will flow into the the LED light, and it will be converted into light energy. Okay, and remember there will also be plus heat energy. Okay, for part B, name a form of energy that is not useful in the above information board. So heat energy is definitely not useful. What happens to the energy mentioned in B? So the heat energy will be lost to the surroundings. Okay, question 36. Gurmit had 3 blocks which were made of different materials. The blocks were of the same mass. He put them one at a time across a surface from point X to Y as shown in the diagram below. Okay, so we have a block that is made of material P. There is a spring balance. This is the direction of the force, and also okay, from point X to Y. The force needed to pull each block across the surface was measured and recorded in the table below. So for different materials of the block P, Q, and R, okay, you can see that a different amount of force is needed to pull each block. Okay, so for part A, it is asking us why is the force needed to pull all the 3 blocks across the surface. Okay, so a force is needed to overcome a friction between the blocks and the surface. Okay, part B, Gurmit wants to use one of the material P, Q, and or R to make the soles of shoes worn by kitchen staff who needs to work on the oily and wet kitchen floor daily. Which material should he choose? And okay, explain your answer clearly. So which and explain. So looking at the table, material R needs the most amount of force to pull it across, right? So you want the soles of the shoes to have a huge amount of friction, so we definitely will be choosing material R. Okay, so material R. Okay, explain your answers clearly. So for this kind of question, remember if there is a data provided, always use the data to try and explain. So based on the table, R requires the most amount of force. Okay, to pull from X to Y. Okay, so what does this show? So this shows that hence R produces the most amount friction. Okay, and it is the most suitable material, okay, to be used as the source of use for kitchen staff. Okay, to prevent them from slipping and falling. Okay, part C. John told Gurmeet that he could reduce the amount of force needed to pull each block across the surface by putting a few straws underneath the blocks as shown in the diagram below. Okay, do you agree with John? And explain your answer. So this is yes, I agree. Okay, the reason is because the straws will reduce the amount of contact area between the block and the surface, and hence that will reduce the amount of frictional force, and so it will be so you will reduce the amount of force needed to pull each block across. Okay, the straws will reduce the contact area between the block and the surface. Hence, this reduces friction and amount of force needed to pull it will reduce. Question 37. The diagram shows a toy gun that works using a spring. The original length of the spring is 100 mm. The gun is then locked in a position shown below. When the trigger is pulled, the ball will shoot out to hit a target. State a force that is acting on the ball when the toy gun is locked in position shown above. So you can say gravity as one of it, because gravity will act on everything. And if you need one more, you can also say elastic spring force. So for B, explain in terms of forces why the ball will shoot out when the trigger is pulled. Okay, when the trigger is pulled, okay, the compressed spring okay, will exert a pushing force on the ball. Okay, so these will cause the ball to shoot out. Okay, question 38. Mrs. Tan placed a 200-gram big fish ball into a pot X and 6 smaller fish ball with a total mass of 200 gram, that means same mass, into another similar pot Y. The amount of boiling water in both pots was the same. The pots were then placed on a hot plate to cook the fish balls at the same time. Mrs. Tan found that the fish balls in pot Y took a shorter time to be cooked. So why did the fish balls in pot Y cook faster? So the fish ball in pot Y cooked faster is because it has got a more exposed surface area to the boiling water. This one you need to understand the concept of the ratio of the surface area to the volume. When an object becomes smaller, the exposed surface area will actually increases. So why did the fish ball in pot Y cook faster? The fish balls in pot Y have increased exposed surface area in contact with the boiling water. Hence it will cook faster. So for part B, Mrs. Tan went to the mall to buy a new saucepan, but as a sales assistant told her that the saucepan P, which is this, it would cook food faster than saucepan Q on the stove. Although both saucepans were made of the same material, but they have different structure. Saucepan P will have these fins and it is a black metal surface. Describe how the features of saucepan P cause the food to be cooked faster. So for the fins will increase the exposed surface area to to heat. It increases surface area to heat. And also black metal is actually a good absorber of heat, so black is a good absorber of heat. So that's the reason why, you know, people always say, like, on a hot day, do not wear black clothes, wear something that is light in color, or even better, just wear white color clothes. Okay, question 39. Devi conducts an experiment to measure the force exerted on the iron disc when the switch is closed. The reading on the spring balance with the iron disc hung on it when the switch is open is 1 unit. Okay, so for part A, explain why the reading on the spring balance increases when the when the switch is closed. Okay, so in this case, when the switch is closed, you can see that there is a closed circuit, and basically the iron rod will be magnetized and it will pull the iron disc towards it, okay, exerting a force of attraction on the iron disc, and that will exert a force on the spring balance, and that will cause the reading in the spring balance to increase. Okay, so explain why the reading on the spring balance increases when the switch is closed. So I'm gonna start with when the switch is closed. The iron rod, okay, will be magnetized. Please do not say that it will become an electromagnet, because even when the switch is open, it is already an electromagnet. Okay, so the iron rod will be magnetized, and it will attract the iron disc. Exerting a pulling force on the spring balance. Okay, causing the reading to increase. Okay, part B, describe 2 ways that Devi can do to increase the readings on the spring balance. Okay, so if you want to increase the readings on the spring balance, you can increase the strength of the electromagnet. And you should know by now, to increase the strength of the electromagnet, we can number 1, increase add in more batteries. Okay, or increase the number of coils around the iron rod. Okay, for part C, what would the reading on the spring balance be if the iron rod is replaced by a glass rod of the same mass when the switch is closed? Okay, explain your answer. So when the iron rod is replaced with a glass rod, it is not going to be magnetized, and so it's not going to exert any forces of attraction on the iron disc. Okay, so remember the original reading is 1 unit. A lot of students will write that the reading on the spring balance is 0. Yep, so the reading will be 1 unit. Okay, so glass is not a magnetic material. Okay, Okay, question 40. Johnson set up a circuit shown below. He wanted to put a switch which could allow him to switch on or off a particular bulb while keeping the other bulbs lit up. Okay, mark a cross on the circuit diagram below to show where he could put the switch. Okay, so I can put a switch here, or I can put the switch here. Okay, and that will only allow me to control bulb Q. For B, if bulb P is replaced with a closed switch in the above setup, what will happen to the brightness of bulb R? Explain your answer. Okay, so the brightness of bulb R will increase, or it will become brighter. Okay, bulb R will become brighter. Okay, so since E and R are connected in series, okay, you have to mention this, that they are connected in series. Replacing, sorry, not removing. Replacing P with a closed switch, okay, will allow for more electrical current to flow through R. Making it brighter. Okay, so we have come to the end of the paper. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment below, or you can contact me on my Facebook page.